Welcome to Here's the Story, a show that brings student affairs to life by sharing the authentic voices and lived experiences of those who are shaping the field every day. My name is Helena Gartner. My pronouns are she, her, hers, and I have served at multiple institutions for over 20 years, working primarily in housing. I live my life as a mom, a sister, a daughter, a friend, a mentor, all the things, and I am excited to be here with my co-host Neil.
Howdy, my name is Dr. Neil E. Galimo, and I'm the luckiest guy I know. I'm blessed to serve as the Director of Campus Living and Learning here on Texas A&M's sunny Galveston campus. Just a father, husband, son, over here trying to do my best to do a little good, or at least get caught trying. And JT?
Pronouns are he, him, his, and I serve as the Associate Professor and Chair of Educational Leadership at Southern Illinois University, Edwardsville. And y'all know I'm just trying my best to live as a free Black man in a world that would have me live otherwise.
Well, I am going to do a shout out to our sponsor today, Evolve. Evolve is a series of leadership coaching journeys designed to bring clarity, capacity, and confidence, empowering courageous leadership to reimagine the future of higher education. I am just going to name right now during this
Hmm?
recording that my connection is spotty. So hopefully we make it through this wonderful recording smoothly, but I can tell over here I'm struggling with my connection. So if you all lose me, we will find a way to get back together. But for now, I want to welcome to the show. How authentic is that? I want to welcome to the show someone that serves as a mentor for me. And I use lowercase m because mentors, I think, you got to have permission. And so I know I've never had that type of conversation with um, my good friend Lionel Mayton here. But over the course of my journey, we Lionel has just stayed connected and committed to helping me figure things out in this field. And sometimes those things are figuring myself out. And so I am so very excited to spend some time dwelling with, learning from one of what I would say is the best to ever do it out in these streets. What does he say? Someone who is cooler than the other side of the pillow.
Hmm.
Oh, I like that. I like that. Come on.
I only met one other person in life who says that, and every time they say it, I say to myself, "But you're not Lionel, though. But you're not Lionel, though." So on that note, I want to welcome to our podcast today, Lionel Mayton, and please introduce us in the ways that you would like us to know you.
All right. Good afternoon, morning, evening, whenever you get an opportunity to review this. But I am Lionel Mayton. I currently serve at the University of Mississippi in the role of Assistant Vice Chancellor for Enrollment Management. Um, I guess my experience have been at small institutions, have been regional institutions, as well as large public institutions. Majority of my career has been in student housing, um, with the last 13 years kind of part sharing the role as director of housing and responsibility for enrollment management, to now being exclusively focused in enrollment management. So looking forward to the conversation today, and hopefully, I could say something that could be beneficial to the listeners.
Hmm.
Well, thank you. Thank you. Well, I know you got a story to tell, so let's hear
All
that
right,
story.
all right. I guess my career, really and truly, I was introduced to student affairs, really through a complaint. I was an athlete at a little small institution, at the University of Arkansas at Monticello. I was a track athlete. We shared the floor rather with the baseball team. The track team had one half, the baseball team had the other. And although we were not in season, we were still training. Baseball team was not in season. They were a little loud, and I went down and complained to Mr. Charles Jackson. He was from Canada, about complaints. He didn't have an RA on that floor. He told me come to his office the next day. I actually came to his office, and he actually handed me an application. And so that was really how I was introduced to the world of student affairs. And so I began serving as a RA for the athletes on that floor, and continued throughout that experience. On that campus, you had a position of head RA. So I became a head RA, and upon getting graduation, I was actually headed off to a YMCA or something of that nature. That was kind of my interest. I had been an athlete, and although I wasn't interested in coaching, I was interested in health and wellness and those type of things, and had done some work with that. And it was our director of Res Life and Housing at the time knew that there was a vacancy that they could not fill at Murray State. So she convinced me to to interview at Murray State, and I tried to use the excuse to get out of it. Having problems saying no. And so I said, well, I can't afford to drive to the interview. We were in Arkansas, and the interview was going to be in Murray, Kentucky. She said, oh, I'll drive you. So she actually drove me to my interview at Murray State. Got the job there. Got a chance to work under Paula Hewlick at the time, who was very active in CHO, who exposed me to work beyond just the campus, but work within the profession, and how could we as individuals really impact and help to shape our profession. The and so really and truly, for me, as I think about my career, it's always been those situations in which someone has lended out a hand, someone has opened a door, someone has been a sponsor. And for me, that sponsorship continued even beyond graduate school. I went back to my undergrad to work as a professional hall director. Um, and from there used to be CHO used to partner and have a job search process in Atlanta. And I met a woman by the name of Lorinda Crehut. At the time, she was director of housing at University of Southern Miss. And I had interviewed at the University of Georgia, and they were very interested in me. But when I went to campus, the then director there made a joke that I was gonna. He said, "Look out my window there." He says, one of the responsibilities you would have is you would have to clean a pool if the pool person didn't show up." And he meant it as a joke. He really was joking, and really and truly, if you got to know him, it was just him joking and sincere and all of those things. But as a young professional, you know what I thought. I am not going there because I am not cleaning nobody's pool. And there and so the next day I went to interview on campus at Southern Miss with Lorinda. And ended up taking the job. He ended up asking me later. He said, "Hey, why did you take the job?" And I told him, and he just laughed. He thought that was we've got laughs about that over the years. And it's really served through his retirement as really a strong mentor for me. So I mean, it was someone that really and truly I still benefited from his leadership and all of those different things. I guess it was a lesson learned there for both of us in that situation. The But from there went to Carnegie Mellon in Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania. The Was able to get that position because there were so many people who had turned it down. So you can say that I was the flunky on that one. I mean, everybody had said no, and I was willing to say yes. And really learned a lot about the business and financial side of the operation. I mean, a large part of my role there I was removed from the student affairs side, so to speak,
Mm.
more operations driven, so marketing, parking, dining, those type of operations. The Really enjoyed that experience and enjoyed Pittsburgh and as a city, those type of things, and had an opportunity to leave there and to go work for my mentor, Shannon Staten at the University of Louisville, who had told me, she said, "Hey, I'm gonna give you 3 years. I'm gonna teach you how to be an associate director of facilities, but my you only got 3 years, and you're going to have to move on and prepare yourself to become a director in those 3 years." And she mentored me. Um, um, I got the best mentoring I could have ever gotten over those 3 years. But year two, I walked in her office for my evaluation, and she said, "What's your plan for next year?" And I said, I'm staying here. We were enjoying Louisville, Kentucky. I had no idea I would love it that much. And she says, "I told you 3 years. You got 3 years. Start looking, for your career. I'm gonna help you out. I'll, help you to find opportunities and those things. But I don't think that your service, you know, will be." You'll be a better servant in a role as a director. And that's where I want you to be. That's what I'm aiming you to be. And if you were in housing at that time, you understood that you kind of had some of these term limits on certain campuses. I mean, that practice, I don't believe exists as much, if it exists at all within the profession now. The and so Had an opportunity and do my connections. Willie Young, who was at Ohio State, knew that Eleanor Reynolds was retiring and looking for a director at Oakland University. So I had an opportunity to go there and interview, and that's where I met Helena. And was a part of her hiring and those type of things. And so really and truly got an opportunity there to be a director for the first time, and went on from there and moved down to Texas, San Antonio, and now here. 6 months into the job, I was asked to chair a committee to look at restructuring student affairs and the for my boss at that time, and shortly after that was asked to help her manage our enrollment management at the time, financial aid and admissions, and kind of everything is where it's at today. So have working for a phenomenal leader who's well known in enrollment management by the name of Eduardo Prieto. It's been very exciting to work under his leadership and learn this profession that I've learned over the last 13 years. So there it is.
That's the story. That's the story. And one of the things I remember from you that I've
Oh no,
yep,
Oh,
I lost
no,
it.
we
Gosh,
lost you for a second. We can
Can
still
you
hear
hear
you.
me? You
yep.
can't
We
see
just
me?
can't
No.
see you.
Yeah,
Yeah, like the whole screen went black and it's not back on yet. So
yeah, yeah. We
I
can
think
hear you.
that's a good place. I'm trying to get it back up. Is it still recording though?
Yeah,
Yeah, we're still recording, so you're good.
But you can't see me.
We see your beautiful headshot.
yeah.
That is a fabulous headshot, by the
That
way.
is that's
That's
great.
when I used to have purple hair, so thank you. It's not popping back up. So how about so Nat, you will know that we want to cut this part, end it end it at Lionel's story and come back. I don't want to move my laptop. Let me see if I
Yeah, I
switch
finna
it to
say,
the laptop, if it will.
yeah, I
I
finna say
can just
we could hear you.
let's see. Cancel that. Then maybe you come back. You see me yet?
Not
No.
yet.
Oh, somehow it turned the video
Oh, you're
off.
coming.
There you
I'm
go.
coming back. All right.
There
There
you
Okay.
you
go.
are.
All right. So we're going to start here. Thank you,
Yep.
Nat. Thank you, folks. So, Lionel, one of the things that I remember hearing from you and I hold as wisdom and have still yet to experience. So let me just say that. Is I remember you saying, I don't know if you remember it, one of the greatest things to do is to be acknowledged by someone and tapped for a job. One of
Mhm.
the like you wanna move your career to a place that somebody reaches out, taps you and says, I want you over here. And a lot of what I do and how I like work to build relationships has been until that day comes, right? Like I know I'm valuable out in these streets, so please don't hear me say like I'm a low value like professional out here, but I haven't had that experience. But in listening to your story, I think for the first time for me is really knowing how that has been your journey.
Mhm.
Can you talk to us a little bit about, I don't know, how that makes you feel? Or even if that one of the greatest things is to be tapped is still something, if you recall it, that you consider to be an important part of this professional journey.
Yep. I mean, I do value the relationships that I've had in this profession. I I credit some of that when I think internally to me being consistent and always showing up in a way and in a space that, oftentimes can be a little tough. I mean, when you're the only person that's entering that space as a person of color, a lot of times I went through the profession really seeking guidance, not because I was being treated one way or the other in any way that was of concern, but I wanted to make sure that as I was entering those spaces and places uh, that I was doing it the right way. Coming from the environment that I came from, where my family, you know, was not, I mean, I couldn't call home and say, I remember a story of one time calling home and saying to one of my uncles, uh, a concern that I had in the job, and he said, "Just quit." And that was his response. And I mean, he thought he was really giving me sage advice at that time, but in his world and those type of things, I mean, that may have been the way in which, those things would have been resolved. But in a, higher education world and those type of things, you have kind of approach the work from a different perspective. And so I didn't necessarily have that growing up in the environment that I grew up in, but I had and so for me, Willie Young, who, again at Ohio State became that one African American mentor for me who I was able to call on and lean on for that way. And but I also had Lorinda Kerhut and Shannon Staten, who were two Caucasian women who served in that role. And, and although they couldn't tell me how necessarily to be a person of color, they had worked with a lot of, in the promotion of a lot of people of color and those type of things. And so they really did help and guide and help me to steer my career and challenge me in ways I needed to be challenged and those type of things. And so for me, the tap has come with they talk about your circle of five. You take the five people in your circle and you can tell how you could pretty much determine the outcome of your career and those type of things. And I've just been very fortunate to have that. I've tried to pay that back to the profession in every way that I could. I've also been very sensitive. Find myself probably on a weekly basis talking to 2 to 3 young men of color in the profession who are just going through different things and those type of things because I feel like I didn't have that. And so I do want to contribute back to the profession in that way.
And that's beautiful.
Yeah.
I'm curious how you think the profession has advanced in terms, or maybe it hasn't. I'm curious to get your opinion
Yeah.
in terms of race, in terms of race relations within our field. I asked the question specifically in a moment where we see the rise of white Christian nationalism. There's an agenda from um, conservative forces to say we need to go back.
Mhm.
America needs to go back. And I'm just curious, where would you say our field is in terms of what you've seen over the course of your career? I know
And
that's a
and I
good
can,
question.
yeah, and I can only speak from the place of my experience and the Kuhoi, which served as the national organization that I've had the privilege of working with. The and I could speak from the leadership that I've had since I've been here at the University of Mississippi. And so as a career perspective, again, I've had various people who've stepped up and really tapped and served as sponsors for me. A lot of times those individuals did not look like me. The I come from a place of my I was sharing with a young man at the NACAC, which is the National Association for Enrollment Managers Conference last week. It's hard for me because I come from a place in which my mother could have used, and she could have called the race card on someone, on a lady who tried to ruin her family because she wouldn't serve her years ago. And I remember being very upset about that. And she told me, she said, I can't get mad at the race. She said, really and truly, my conflict is between me and her. And so my entire career has been based upon that moment that I sometimes say was kind of a moment of embarrassment for me because I expected a different response, and her response wasn't about, imposing, a situation that she had with an individual on an entire race of people. And so I always pull from that, I always grow from that. It sort of set my who I am as a professional. And so I've been very fortunate in the sense that, again, some of that may be the circle of influence that I've had in the profession, but I've always felt like a Kuho Eyes has shown up for for people of color. I feel like they've shown up for our, LGBTQ community. I feel like Akuhoai has really been, and Akuhoai is the national organization for housing professionals. I've always felt as though there's always been a space, there's always been a place. It's been an organization willing to listen. It's been an organization willing to develop. It's been an organization willing to grow its professionals and all of those different pieces. And that's been my experience. I'm not sure what the experience has been in other associations and organizations, but my foundation and everything that I've been able to do in this profession has come out of and birthed out of a kuhoai. And so for me, that has always been a very special place in my heart. And again, I feel like I've grown, I've seen other men and women of color who've had the opportunity to be successful as well. And then it comes to the University of Mississippi. I've had some great leaders. I really have. And whether it was Brandy Helpner LeBanc, who, took a chance on me as a director of housing to move into a role as the assistant vice chancellor and have responsibility for, you think about the front door of a university, the of enrollment management, and she took a chance on me and said, "Hey, I need you to take on this area." The And from day one, I was wrapped around with love and support and those type of things. I'm one who will ask, "Am I doing well? Am I, I'm not doing well," and those things. And people have been honest, and I think they've given me, really good, honest feedback that I could grow from. I um, every chancellor, I've had an opportunity to work from, some are closer than others. Our current chancellor has been phenomenal. He allowed me to write the job description, a proposal to create the Division of Enrollment Management. Those are just not everyday experiences. And so for me to somehow say that I have not been given the support and the things. And that was challenging. It was at a time when I was coming off the doctorate, and I always call it the doctoral illness. I was sick as all get out. I barely get out of bed, but I found a way to write that proposal because I felt like the opportunity to do so was phenomenal. And so for me, it's a little different. And it's hard because I tend to approach and there's a different lens I find myself looking through. as it relates to when folks ask me similar questions, and it's because my experience has been different. I've been, again, I haven't been on a global stage. I don't understand, maybe some of the things that are happening on the global stage. I tend to focus on those things that I can change and I can affect and I can make a difference in. And in that arena, I feel like, whether it's been the University of Mississippi or whether it's been, University of Arkansas in Monticello, I've always had, very strong support networks and those type of things. And so I'm not saying that there hasn't been uh, tough days. That would not be fair. But in my experience, I've always been able to look back and find that those experiences have grown me and helped me and those type of things. And again, I understand, the space I'm in as being at a flagship institution as the assistant vice chancellor of enrollment management. I know there's going to be a different level of treatment that may come to me, that may come to someone else, whether that's through our university or whether that's just out in the public in general. But that's been my experience, and I wish, again, and so I'm just sharing it through the lens in which I've seen it.
Oh, I appreciate it.
Dr. Mayton, I was gonna make a joke earlier about how like somebody like Helena is partially your fault, and you know, but I mean, I can tell you from my standpoint, if that's all you ever did, you had a great career. I was struck early on. We were talking about mentorship, but you used the word sponsor. And I know why that speaks to me, but I'm just curious, like that was definitely a choice by you. And like I want to talk to me about that. Why did you use that word?
Yeah, partly because I just finished talking to my son about that probably about an hour or so ago. He's in college in Iowa, and so wanted to play basketball, run track. So he decided that he fell in love with a little small school in Iowa as we went out and did our visits and things during his senior year or his junior year, and the and and he went through some tough periods in that process because, as I explained to him, myself being a college athlete as well, is that those first 2 years are your learning period. You're not gonna necessarily be the superstar you was in high school. The And although you had those conversations with him, I mean he still got to go through the journey, right? And so he definitely went through that and had some really tough decisions to make this summer as to whether or not he was one going to go back, two whether or not he was going to participate in sports or just focus on his academics and leadership and those things, and decided that he wanted to continue. He actually felt like he wanted to grow further as a leader. And his institution, which is hopefully I can say the name is Wartburg College. The athletic director there and the basketball coach actually provided him an opportunity to represent the school at their student leadership conference for their conference about 2 weeks ago. And the and he's really and he really did enjoy that experience and has shared with me that he wants to work in enrollment management and those things. And so my boss has been very candid that he wants to help him to grow in the field and those type of things. And so I was sharing with him about sponsors, and to me those are people who are sitting at tables and they're calling up your name when you don't even know your name's being called. And so I was talking to him about that had you went in there and you said to the coach and the athletic director, "Hey, I'm leaving the program," you would have never gotten this experience because what you was focused on was what you could see, and
Yeah.
you was not focused on the fact that you know that people were still watching you. People were still, making, they saw you in the gym when no one else was in the gym. They saw your leadership. but there's a process that you needed to go through. And because they saw those things, they felt great being able to say that we're willing to invest part of our career and what we've learned, and we're willing to put forth some of our collateral onto you. And that's what sponsorship means to me is how can I take the experience that I've had and be able to sponsor someone else? And when you're sponsored, how can you make sure that it's paid back to me, not in financial means or anything of that nature, but you go and do what you need to do, and you do the things as well as you can do them. And so I was spending time talking to him about that and how he needed to, how he needed to close the loop now, how he needed to work with them to make sure that, you know, there may have been a ton of students who've gone before him, but I'm from Louisiana, so how do you add some lagniappe? How do you add something extra? And so he put together a presentation and sent that to them and thanked them and just told them what he learned and those type of things. And so when I think of sponsor, I think of those individuals who are sitting at the table you may never know have spoken your name, who are able to move your career and your journey forward.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah. Thank you for sharing that. And it similarly, I try to help my son also recognize when the sponsors are around. And that is for me why I say like little M and not big M, because it's not that ongoing type relationship. But I've always appreciated the nuggets that you have poured into me. And again, similarly, I try to teach my son like when you find a person who's invested in you, because although I've not been tapped to like, hey, come do this special thing, I have had opportunities where
Yeah,
people have tapped me to tell me what was special about
that's
me
Mm,
right. Hmm.
and who could see where I couldn't see, and I have learned to trust that in people. And so similarly, I've been teaching my son how to maybe not be a follower, but when you trust in some people, how do you follow it? And in a way that I'll just take it back to when you said maybe your uncle had learned how to manage different things differently. I say to my
Yeah,
son, where you're moving and where you're going and how you do it, I've never seen before. So
mm,
when you have people who can see it and they can walk you through a world that I've never walked in my shoes in, then I gotta hope you trust them,
that's right.
because I don't know about that world. I don't know how that moves over there. I can, mama can take you somewhere, but mama can't take you, all the way. So I appreciate you saying that. Like I really have chills thinking about that, especially when we think about our babies. Um,
yeah.
and just the journey. So like with that being said, I really thank you for being in a space with us today.
Yes, thank you.
There's
Thank
not there's not been one time I haven't learned something, and I appreciate you taking us on your journey, name dropping, because that's like you drop some housing culture names, right? Like you've had a journey to be influenced by some folks who've been really significant to the field, but just that journey alone reinforcing that we don't do this alone. And to be really cheesy with it, that's kind of where this ideal of here's the story comes from, is how do we sit with each other and have opportunities to learn from our experiences, and all of our experiences just look different. And so as we continue to do this work in a time that is just unstable and sometimes unkind and evolving all at the same time, having these lessons and reminders are gifts. And so I don't know, y'all, I think an untapped gift is really thinking about how you got here, and really recognizing that and then appreciating what you do when you're here. And that's what I heard from
Yeah.
you today.
Yeah.
Alina, can
Any
I just say
Yeah,
really
absolutely.
quickly, it's beautiful to see you and your mentor together. Just before we started recording, the energy between y'all, the love.
Mhm.
I know the viewers can't feel that, but I just want
Nah,
to
they
say
can.
I feel it and I felt it and it's beautiful. So
And I'm gonna
thank
take a liberty of some extra
you.
time. Why am I getting emotional? There was one time I applied for a job while I was reporting to Lionel. He didn't hire me. This is what I want y'all to know. He did not hire me, but the conversation he had with me about, if I cry, we're gonna get an Emmy for this episode, about where I was. And in case you wondered, I wasn't in a bad spot. Like, let me just boost my ego. What he was looking for and where he was going with the direction of what was needed at the institution at that time, challenged my ego in a way that you probably don't know this, Lionel. I completely look at myself as a candidate differently. I still maintain I was the best person that he should have hired.
It
And
was.
though, and is still, and though, what was interesting in this pool, y'all, and this got to be on the recording, is that the other candidates were people that I had taken the RA journey with, literally, actually, and factually. I learned to love this work with those same candidates. And I was just not the one he chose. Right. And what I think is awesome for me in this, so JT, thank you for pulling this out, is that I am almost positive I haven't made a professional move without checking in
Mm.
to see what I was doing, where I was at, what the thoughts were, what's moving in the field. And I may have moved a lot, but in the times that I have checked in, there's always been that same honest conversation back about what the landscape was, how I might need to be prepared to play, and the things I need to think about when I make that decision. And so I just want to say back in front of y'all and Lionel, is that
Mm.
when I sit with a person who's doing a job search, I try to make it my business to do a similar framing of what are you going for and what are you looking for, because the compensation isn't always in the money,
Yep.
right? Like it's sometimes in other ways. And similarly, if I am not able to bring someone along and know that I'm offering them disappointment, I take that time to help them see who they are, because a lot of times when we are rejected, we think about who we aren't. And I'm not
Mm.
saying it didn't hurt, but I have framed almost every single search and decision based on the conversation we had in that office moving forward. And so
Wow.
it matters to me because I knew, or at least I thought, it wasn't about me, but to make it about me, I had to do some different things, right? Like I just had to do some different things because the tone of what was needed was not in my skill set. I promise you today, you're not going to find too many things not a part of
Mm.
my skill set. Because, there's a great philosopher or two out there, because they all say it differently. If you stay ready, you don't have to get ready. And so, again, while I have yet to be tapped, I know that the big one is going to be a tap, because I continue to build that portfolio, because that's what I learned from Lionel. And I'm
And
just,
and and the reality is that you may have been tapped and not even know you've been tapped.
Mm.
that's the
That's what's
reality.
so that's just so important
Yeah.
about that. The you know
Yeah.
I I over the course of my career I've learned more in the positions that I didn't get when the person who did not hire me was willing to have a conversation. I know we live in a you know you know world now where everybody's afraid to have conversations, which is because of lawsuits and those type of things.
Yeah.
But in places in which I've had an opportunity to really sit down and talk to folks, it's been interesting because now it's hard because when I don't get a position now, it's just like, man, I check every box. It's not a box that, you know, I mean, I've done all the student affairs. I've done the enrollment management. There's not a whole lot else that's left out there. But there may be specific reasons why an institution may have an interest in a different candidate and those type of things. And so, uh, it was hard to hear that in some ways, because uh, you have to go back and reflect upon those tough decisions and choices you had to make and why you made them and those type of things. But also it was a moment in which I felt like the teacher became a student. The And to know that that interaction with you has helped to shape aspects of your career and very significant aspects of your career. I can tell you that when I talk about the Shannon Statons and Lorinda Kerhut and those people I've mentioned previously, I've had to have those conversations with them. And so, I arrived in that space with you because I sat in that space with them in which they had to tell me those things. And that's, I think that's what our housing profession is good at. I mean, I really
Yeah.
truly do. I was asked this week at last week rather at the NACAC by this young man. He really just came up to me and we started talking, and he and we're having lunch, and so he got into some of his challenges in enrollment management, and I kind of gave him my career, and he asked what was different about the conference, and I said, you know, it's maybe we all just experience, different similar things when it comes to enrollment management. I mean, not enroll, but housing. I said, but it's more cordial. People are willing to be transparent. They're willing to be honest and open. And I think that willingness is what has really helped to shape us. So that's always has been different. Whereas enrollment management is a field in which you're in constant competition with each other. And
Yep.
so I think they try, I mean, I think the profession tries to reach out and help one another. One example is I'm putting on the training for the state of Mississippi enrollment managers, but we're only going to go so far. We're not going to share what we believe are the secrets of our work. But there, so it's a little, and there may not be any secret whatsoever, but we believe they are, right? And so that's the challenge, and so for me, it was good to hear that. I needed to hear that today. Uh, because looking and trying to make sure as I near the retirement of my career, today being my 56th birthday, it's not too much longer before I'm exiting the stage, right? The and so I want to make sure that not only am I leaving a career in which I'm teaching folks how to navigate this space in higher education, but for them also to know that they have a duty and a responsibility to give back to the profession is something that's critically important to me.
Well, thank you for that. And
Yeah.
on that note, friends, I'm gonna take us out. I'm gonna go ahead and take us out. Let's give another shout out to Evolve. Higher education is facing unprecedented challenges. Higher education needs courageous leadership now more than ever, and poor leadership has never been more costly. A new generation of leaders with the capacity to lead forward is not optional, it's urgent. These challenges are also full of possibilities for courageous leaders who are able to let go and move forward. Accepting the challenges we are facing is real and embracing their agency to lead with and through them. At Evolve, they help leaders face these realities with clarity, capacity, and confidence. They offer leadership coaching, coaching journeys for leadership teams, and individual leaders focus on executive leaders, emerging leaders, and those leading for equity. This has been Here's the Story. Thank you for going a little bit longer with us on this episode. Thank you for entertaining my own journey with a very long time friend. I like to call him a friend. If I need him, he's always there, always there. And if you got a story to tell, we welcome that story. You can check us out at Student Affairs Now / Here's the Story. Drop us a note. Reach out to us directly if you know us. We are here doing this work one day at a time in the ways that we know how to just normalize this experience for us. And I don't know, kind of as Evolve says, in somewhat challenging times. So thank you to my co-host. Thank you to Lionel Mayton. And we will catch you on the next episode of Here's the Story.